authorized to fire at will.
Hey, welcome. It's Saturday noon, actually. Well, it's technically Saturday afternoon, but thanks for tuning in. You guys are in for a treat. This is not going to be a real long show. My guest has a short window of time where we can actually watch the video and break it down. I do want to say this on the front end. I will do all my other ancillary announcements and whatnot on the back end, but on the front end, I've known Jason for a couple of years. We met because we were doing panels together over on Joe Lanew's channel, not his real name, but he's also former law enforcement. And we met there doing law enforcement use of force, predominantly video review. And we don't always agree. We haven't always agreed. But Jason handles it in a way that is absolutely professional, compassionate, and caring. And that says a lot, about him as an officer for 30 plus years. 2, he was one of the few that gave me hope. 3, he's taken that compassion and that caring for people and his experience, and he's turned it into protecting people's children in real time in the real world today through his business. And so if we can get through the video and we have some time, we're going to let Jason promote his business and what he does, because it is valuable. And so here's a guy that spent a lifetime doing what he knew he needed to do to serve his community, and now he's still doing it. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring Jason on, let him say hi. Jason?
Hello, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry, he says.
That was very nice of you. You're not usually that nice to me.
I try.
I know. I'm kidding.
You're right. Normally I'm mean. But I do appreciate you doing this. And just for full transparency, I had given a copy of this video to Joe to do, and you guys reviewed it a couple of weeks ago on the grand jury panel. And the family was touched by your remarks and amused. And I'm like, well, you know what, for my audience, so people can see I can actually be nice to people in uniform or that, recently left uniform. I'm going to invite Jason on and we're going to review the video. And so I'm going to start it, and you tell me at any point if you want, to make a comment at all during it. I will stop and you can make your comment and we'll go on. So for those who don't know, this is from the night of April 9th of 2025. It's the call for the trooper. This is Minnesota State Trooper Moeser. The call was for a wrong way driver. And this is his response. So here we go. And there will not be audio for the first few moments just because of buffering on the Axon cameras. And so down on the bottom screen, if you're paying attention, you can see the speed. Right here, I think this is before he even gets the call. We talked about this when I did my fired up review of it. He's already well over the posted speed limit. I know this is going to just be loud when the sound finally comes on. And here you can tell he got the call because his speed is ramping up. Everybody hit that like. Oh, that's why there's no. There we go. It wasn't ever going to get loud because I didn't have the sound turned on.
Unknown description, unknown color, driving highway speed.
Jason, I have a quick question here that you might be able to answer better than I would. You have
Sure.
At this, we all know that everybody's got a computer in their car now, right? We all know that every squad comes equipped with that now. Is every agency's policy across the state pretty much kind of like the rest of Lexapol policy that comes out of Post, and where everybody kind of mimics, or not mimics, but kind of copies and pastes what what Post says? And are there kind of parameters on when you should be using the squad computer?
It all, there's so, you take the computer alone. I mean, there is so much distraction inside that cab, and you actually you get good at it, and it's unfortunate to say, but you have to get good at it. As far as the policy questions, a lot of policies are cut and paste, but they can be specified a little bit more when it gets to, I mean, you can make it more specific, but for the most part, it's the same language.
Yeah, they all borrow through, or kind of use a generic Lexapol versions that are out there, and then kind of tailor to their agencies.
Yeah, that's pretty much every police policy they're all very similar.
Okay.
In message.
Is at this speed and at night, is there much justification for using a squad computer in that moment? Would you?
I'm not in the car. I mean, it depends on what, he's receiving messages and updates on his computer. Okay. Back when I started, everything was over the air, which I think is personally safer. But now messages will come in over your screen. So I don't know, what information is coming in right now. I'm assuming it's pertaining to the call he's on.
Okay. And that's why I'm asking, because I do want people to hear from the law enforcement, like recently departed from law enforcement perspective. And I knew a little bit of what you were saying is that you get used to it. And like you said, you feel radio traffic is safer. And I after watching this, I feel like radio traffic would have definitely been much safer. All right. Thank you. At what point in this are you getting nervous watching it?
I'm already nervous. I've been on these calls before where you have a wrong way driver, and knowing that something is coming at you, you're not giving yourself any time to respond. I do understand the urgency of it, because he's, in his mind, he's probably trying to protect the other drivers on the road by getting in front of them. But at the same breath, ideally he would be going on the other lane and spotlighting this guy, like trying to get his attention. Mm-hmm. I would be nervous as hell going this fast, knowing there's an oncoming car heading my direction. I mean, I'd be on the shoulder at a minimum. You don't
Okay.
know when this guy's going to show up.
All right. I heard you. You must have turned your mic on like you were going to say something because I heard you go. I'm
Oh,
like,
sorry about that.
oh no, I love it. You can leave your mic on unless
Okay.
unless you have a. This isn't Joe's show where Joe's got to be in charge of everything. Yeah, you can tell Joe I said that.
That's fine. I just don't want to burp and say shit. The mic's on.
My audience does not expect anything less than random noises. So,
Okay.
Cool. Well, I'll let you give kind of a final assessment at the end, but I'm watching this and I'm like, I can't. There again, we can't see his body, we can't see his face, but the speed had me very nervous just from the get-go. The first time I watched it, and I knew what was coming. And the other one that got me was at that speed, just the sheer kind of half in it. Like I'd be double fisting that steering wheel at these speeds. And you had made a comment in one show that we were doing with Joe and about pursuits, and you said you kind of had a personal policy, and you talked about it with trainees when you were training, if I remember correctly, of there comes a point where you have to realize like we can find this person later, or we need to slow down. Somebody's going to get hurt. Yeah. Was that 100%. Early in your career? Early in your career, when you came to that, or
it was when I first became a sergeant. It puts you in a different position because now you're responsible for everything that goes on in your shift, and you're just looking at things from a liability perspective. If we have the license plate and we have the suspect name and we have the make and model, we have all this information, why are we chasing him? Let's go to his house in 3 hours and pick him up, or right. There's always tomorrow.
You can justify it. You can do a sworn affidavit on a warrant at that point.
Yeah, you can, as long as you can articulate that we know who this individual is. Mm-hmm. The other thing that matters is what crime are we chasing? If it's a damage to property, I don't care. If it's a homicide suspect, okay, we're getting this guy. Right. So you got to look at what did he do to engage in the pursuit? Why are we chasing him? What's road conditions? Is there other traffic out there? There's a lot of exigent circumstances that go in to make the decision on a supervisor to say terminate pursuit. And the one thing that made me mad more than anything was the officer ignoring the order to terminate the pursuit, because you get competitive as a cop, and you just, when you're in the middle of it, you want to catch this guy.
You're not saying that law enforcement attracts people with alpha dominant type personalities, are you?
Well, I think you have to have it.
I know. You absolutely do. Like, even if you fall into the career, almost like you never intended to do it, you're still 98% of the people that end up in it have some form of competitive.
I call it more competitive. Yeah, it's a competitive drive that they want to win, and you have to control that.
Right. All right, we'll get back to watching this for a little bit more. Every one of those intersections always makes me nervous. I've watched this thing 150,000 times. I estimated, I have the report somewhere and I have to look it back up, but I estimated based on his speed and how far he had to walk afterwards, he had to have gone at least 200 more yards.
Did he hit it? Did he get hit again? Was there another vehicle involved?
He pushed the wrong way driver's vehicle into Blake and Braxton, who were outside of the vehicle checking on the wrong way driver. And then that made impact with Blake's vehicle, and he still kept going. That was so. My audience has seen this a lot, but I want them to hear from you because you're going to say it in a way that I think is going to resonate with people, and I think build some respect not only for you but for those people who are willing to say, there does come a line you don't cross. And so, breakdown of this, we touched on a little bit of you get used to using the computer, but was this a reasonable response? And is it reasonable that they concluded that there should not only be no charges, but that he did nothing wrong?
The threshold is using due care. And I would have a problem with this if I was the lieutenant watching this footage the next day. I don't think due care was applied. Again, it goes back to I don't know why he's driving down knowing there's oncoming driver going the wrong way, going that fast, and you're eliminating your chance to react in a safe manner. I don't think there's due care here at all. I really don't. I would never do that. I would be uncomfortable driving like that. But yeah, I have problems with this. As far as charges go, I don't know particulars to really say he should or shouldn't. I don't know what that process was. I do know I've noticed over the course of my career, you look at a city cop versus troopers, and troopers drive fast. I've often there was a couple times I got passed by a trooper and I was going code 3, and it's
what? You're going code 3 and they're passing you?
Yeah.
What is that about?
They've always, I've noticed they've always driven extremely fast.
That is just mind blowing. I mean, I can see passing you on the highway when you're just, or a surface road and you're just kind of doing traffic speeds, but code 3 and they're flying by you. That is,
I'm not saying everyone.
No. But
yeah, there has been. That's a true story. I've been driving and I thought I was driving with, I'm still pushing it, but I'm driving with due care. And I was always taught if you're responding to an emergency, let's say it's a heart attack, what good are you by crashing on your way to get there? You're not helping anybody. So the first and foremost, get there safely, get there quickly, but safely. Because if you don't show up, you're not doing your job.
The argument that the Dakota County Attorney's Office made in their charging decision, and they ended up charging the wrong way driver with all of it after he died, which was mind blowing, was that it was an unavoidable accident and that was caused initially by the wrong way driver, which everyone acknowledges the wrong way driver was in the wrong, regardless of whether it was a dementia issue or, I think they said he had trazodone in his system, but we don't know how much.
You got to look at the Dakota County Attorney's point of view as they're going by statute language, specifically an interpretation of that statute language. Then you have to look. So there's the one side to it. On the other side, you have state patrol policy. So if he's not charged, I guarantee you there's some discipline on the policy side to it. and that necessarily is unknown at times.
Oh yeah, like
But
those are private issues unless the one being disciplined chooses to.
right. So
Right.
it's just because the county attorney's office says no charges, they're interpreting the statute that fits to his actions, and is there a violation of state statute? Whereas on the state patrol side, they're looking at policy violations and did they violate policy? So just because you're not charged with a crime doesn't mean you aren't suspended, terminated, or whatever disciplinary action may have taken place. So it's a double-edged.
Can be, yeah.
Yeah, you can get nailed as a cop on both sides, the criminal side and policy side. You
Right.
get charged with a crime and lose your job, or you can just lose your job and not get charged with a crime. So there's two steps in that.
Yeah. When you look at 169.17, which is the one that authorizes emergency vehicles and in particular law enforcement to exceed the speed limit as long as they meet certain factors, and I think for law enforcement it's lights to the front and rear, as well as the siren, the safety alert.
Yeah.
It says specifically in there that, however, as you have said numerous times, this, however, does not excuse failure to drive with due care and the safety and well-being of the general public. From your comments on Joe's show and today, you're seeing a very severe, egregious violation of due care and safety for the general public, and this is what I'm understanding.
I'm seeing a lack of common sense. A disregard for the general public.
On that, and that's not, like, I shouldn't say not easy. You have no problem being critical of someone who screws up. I've seen this 100 times from you, and I've always respected it. But you don't say things like that. It's not like you're just out here flippantly saying this. You mean it because you're convinced of it from what you see.
Yeah, I usually put myself, would I be doing that? And
right.
if I watch a video, and again, it's a video, I'm not in the car, so right. Hindsight 2020, and it's much more easy to sit in your house and make a comment than it is to actually be in the car. So I get that. But if I watch a video and I look back, if I am that officer at that moment, am I going to respond the same way? And in this case, I would have responded differently.
And shout out from the family. I think I said this already, but they love the McDonald's is hiring crack. That was great. At least you know one thing in this situation: you're going to get your burger fast.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No, and I'm not like the guy who probably had the best intentions of the world to do the right thing. At the end of the day, it's a hard job, and some people are cut for it and some people aren't. And I can tell you the new breed of law enforcement coming through that I've seen and it was time for me to retire because I started to feel like a dinosaur. Like, law enforcement has changed a lot. The way I policed is not the way this new generation polices. And society has pushed law enforcement to that, where we're policing scared. And people are going to end up getting hurt because police aren't policing, I'd hate to say it this way, but with command presence. And command presence truly will minimize the use of force in all situations. So it's the future of law enforcement makes me nervous.
I have seen, and I'm going to say it from my perspective, even when I was FTOing new hire deputies in the detention center, I saw a shift where a lot of them were terrified of what they were doing. Even though they asserted they wanted to do it, they were terrified of it. And they didn't have command presence. They brought kind of a bully energy, which I'm seeing more and more now in interactions with law enforcement on the street with a lot of the younger ones. And
I'm seeing the opposite.
Well, that's weird. And the reason I say that is I'm not seeing a command presence. I'm seeing they come at you really hard, but not with that kind of command presence. That's, let's talk about, we're not going to sit here and rule your case on the side of the road, but yeah. I don't have to I don't have to either be a coward about it or overbearing about it. And that's what I think is missing when you're with our generation, leaving that sphere of law enforcement, is that they knew how to talk to people and be in control of the scene without having to tell everybody I'm in control.
Yeah, I think what made me so successful was realizing that we're all just people. And even, just because you put a uniform on, it doesn't make you Superman. You're still a person. And the people you deal with are all just people. And I learned the most working in narcotics, working with drug users, and realizing that until you kind of get into their world, so to speak, you realize that they're just people with addiction. You don't have to put a stigmatism or a stereotype, but at the end of the day, it's a human being that has an addiction, and they don't deserve to be treated like a non-human being.
I used to tell my new hires when I was training them, and you probably had kind of your own general speech that you gave your people, but I used to tell them really early on, like from day one, and I just would reemphasize it on a regular basis. No matter how bad your day is coming in here, outside of the death of a family member that you were notified of as you were starting shift, which you can then at that point go, I don't think I can work today.
Right.
The person that you're dealing with inside, even the detention center, is literally probably having the worst day of their life compared to you.
Right, their worst life.
And you need to understand that, because that is going to influence how they are responding, not just to you, but everything and everyone around them.
I would agree. And even the term prisoner comes with a certain perception from people.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they're still people.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're serving their time. And one thing too, to this day, that actually bothers me, and it's again going back to working with informants. A lot of these guys were prisoners at one point, and now they're out, and it's until you get to walk in the shoes, like that stigmatism stays with them their entire life because they were in prison. People just look at you differently, and it's not fair to them to not get a second chance. You did what the system told you to do. You paid your dues. Your civil rights have been restored, but yet society still holds you back. So it's
absolutely there's no rehabilitation of that person's reputation. It just carry it with them for the rest of their life.
It's you might as well have a tattoo on your forehead that says I'm a former prisoner, and it's not fair. There's about 3 informants that actually keep in touch with me 10 years later, and they call for advice, and they've been sober for years. They ended up doing like 3-5 years in prison, and to be honest, they're really good people. They learned their lesson, and they made the proper changes, and they struggle even getting a job because of that time period.
Yep. I still have people that'll walk up to me and they're like, man, we missed you at the I'm like, wait, first of all, I don't want to hear that you're still going in. Two, you acted like you hated me. And they're like, you were always fair and decent and said, good things to us. And I'm like, wow, it's nice to hear that. And all these years, I always got the impression that you thought I was a jerk. And it's funny how you don't realize the impression you're leaving on people and what they carry with them, especially in that environment. I know you have a limited amount of time, but I would love for you to tell the audience, those that are watching right now and those that are going to watch on replay, tell everybody, a little bit about 3D response systems and what you guys do, because I love watching you move into a role now where you are actively like going out and like helping schools protect the kids.
It's a passion of mine, because as a former school resource officer and then active shooter instructor, realizing that run, hide, fight is crap. I refuse to teach it. It hasn't saved a life since its inception. And we came up with a system to provide cover, concealment, and communication to those children and teachers, and empower the teachers to take their school back literally within 60 seconds, and empower the police to find the suspect minutes earlier than they are now. And I'm so passionate about it because I know it will minimize loss of life. And you look at Uvalde, if our system's at Uvalde, there's not one dead child. Parkland, there's a couple that are injured, but it minimized, you're not going to see the numbers of loss of life if they had a response to it. And the problem is they don't have a response to it. And a lot of money is being spent on a lot of stuff that is nothing more than a high-tech alert system. And getting an alert is fine, but you're not answering the question, now what do we do?
All right. Yeah, great. Now we know there's a problem.
Yeah. So
now what?
Right.
So what's your system do?
Basically, it provides safe places throughout the building. So each classroom, there's a police button. A teacher depresses that police button. That button activates 1,200 pounds of magnetic pressure on their door. We install hidden ballistic features in the classroom to provide cover. We enhance the windows. We have an instant communication to 911 when that button's depressed. Instant notification throughout the entire building to alert others there's an issue. And that's if all the teachers do what we train them to do, they can convert their classroom into a safe place that will legitimately stop a bullet and stop entry into that room. And you make a target-rich environment like a school, and you make it target-less as fast as you can. So
it's amazing when people to understand that all they have to do is push one button, and this triggers all of that.
And we enhance the vestibules. We have a suspect spray. If you look at Tennessee, and that person, was that a boy or a girl? I can't remember. I know she was trans, or he.
Was it the church school shooter?
Yeah.
It was
it a guy converting to a girl?
It was her converting to a.
Was that what it was?
I don't remember.
I can't believe we're having that conversation. But anyway,
it's
shoots the glass
really.
out. Yeah. Shoots the glass out and goes in and basically owns that school until they say it's done. With our system, shoot the glass will not break. They can depress a button that would drop a bright yellow powder onto the suspect or the person, marking and taking the sight away from them. And they're basically stuck in the vestibule, and now they're bright yellow. That's wow. One angle of it. We set up a quasi command center in the admin office so they can dispatch to the staff where the suspect is, and then dispatch to the officer when the officer arrives to close that gap. The officers literally Google mapped audibly, like take a right, take a left. The suspect's going to be by room 104 versus walking into a school and you have no idea where this person is.
Having to clear every single hallway and classroom as you're going.
Yeah. No, it will save lives. And every time I see a school shooting, I get pissed because it's become political. And that's been I've kind of turned a leaf on being nice about this. It's over the last 35 years, the trend of wash, rinse, repeat. And I can tell you what would happen from the moment the news comes out that there was a school shooting. There's going to be grief. There's going to be a demand or call for action to fix what just happened. Annunciation happened, and everybody wants ballistic glass because the next one's going to happen that exact way. We don't know that. And then it's a 35-year gun control argument that the adults arguing this, I'm sorry, they're literally killing our kids because they can't make a decision. And we have bills that are making our system into building code, and a lot of Republicans have seen it, but they think 3D response on the other side is about making schools look like prisons. And when we started this, we had teachers and educators. We worked very hard that you can't see our system at all. So let
me get this straight. And I know that you've already emphasized how much it pisses you off that it's become so political. And coming at this as a paleo libertarian, you've got Republicans that are willing to look at this, and the other side of the aisle is saying, nope, it's not good for the kids because it makes it's going to make the school look like a prison.
Yeah.
Have they not looked at? You're not changing You're not changing the building in the sense of what a classroom is and how it's laid out. You're just putting things in place to make the existing
Correct.
scheme.
I can
safe.
tell you here's the best example of that narrative I can give you is I gave the parents of the Annunciation shooting a tour. And I'm walking with the mom and dad of one of the kids that was killed. And I show them a classroom. We go to another classroom, and then we're walking down the hall. And I looked at this gentleman and I said, "Well, what do you think?" And his exact words is, "I'm shocked because I was not expecting this." And I said, "Well, what were you expecting?" And he said, "Metal bars and metal detectors and just a very prison-like feel." And he goes, "It's completely the opposite." And I said, "Well, who told you that?" And politicians and advocacy groups trying to get their I think their voice to go after banning guns.
Yeah, and I think that's something, too, is like no matter what your perspective is on firearms, like the only way to protect kids is in this situation. You're never going to get rid of the guns. You cannot get rid of all the guns. We've got, look at Great Britain.
Cocaine's illegal.
Yes, it is. And
I can get an 8-ball of cocaine in about 5 minutes if I wanted to, but it's illegal.
Now you're not supposed to be telling us these things.
No, I'm using it as an example.
No,
there's a lot of illegal stuff, and there's 4 guns to every citizen. How even the argument, what does it look like to enforce that? How are you going to enforce that?
Even if you wanted to, which I know neither one of us is pro removing guns from the citizens.
No, not even
remotely.
Nope.
But we've already gone longer than you had time for, but our conversation is really good. But just the mindset that we're just to make all of this go away if we just get rid of the guns, and like we're not. Like, look at the cities with all of the gun control. And yes, Jerry, thank you for the channel membership. I appreciate you joining. All the cities with all the gun control have some of the worst gun control violence there is. It's literally, we've all joked, you just made a whole city full of sitting ducks now is what you've done. But you're presenting a system that doesn't infringe on the children's ability to learn in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing scary for them in the room. They're not looking at giant blocks of concrete and with rebar in it and all of that. You're just talking about taking the existing space and making it safe in an event of something bad, and they're just like, nope, don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. Have they been able to explain anything other than that we don't want it to look like a prison? Because you've already defeated that argument.
No. That's I've given so many tours, and the most common phrase I get from first responders is game changer. Like, this is a game changer. And the most common phrase I get from politicians is, why isn't this in every school? And these bills, if there's not a gun ban of some sort attached to it, the bills don't stand a chance. And I think they did a sit out because the House is refusing to even hear it's just not. We didn't start this to debate about guns. We started this to keep kids safe. So why I don't even know why this is a topic. Why is this an argument?
I don't think anybody can explain it, because I think
they use tragedy to blame something.
Yes,
and
exactly.
We as people, we always have to point the finger at somebody or something. Somebody always has to be at fault or something, and they're using tragedies to make the guns appear to be at fault.
Well, we always fall for the, I'm sure you've heard this term, the Hegelian dialectic. Create the problem, point out the problem, and then offer the solution to the problem, and we fall for it, and you get both sides arguing against each other.
Correct.
And everybody's missing the point. Like in this argument and this discussion and this problem, 3D response systems is offering you a solution that's going to save lives.
Correct.
And
It's
you
really that
and you
simple.
and you won't do it. Are schools and school districts independently latching on to this? Are they saying,
Yeah.
yes, we love this?
Yeah, we're installed in I think 20 schools in Minnesota, and we got 4 contracts that private schools are easier than public schools.
Is it a funding issue through the public schools, or are you running into politics there still?
It's the inability to understand why it's needed. The problem with educators in leadership spot is they don't have an ounce of experience in this topic. They don't understand that the cover concealment communication philosophy. They can't grasp that, much like I can't grasp algebra. It's just not my lane.
There. We're twins. We're brothers on that.
Yeah.
I get that.
So it's a level of understanding and lack of education, and the inability or the weakness to go out and ask the members of the community that this is something we want. So public schools go through referendums, which is basically a vote. They get to decide on what the community votes for. So they're not giving it an opportunity to go out to get voted on.
Parents would I'm like an ultra small government guy, like no taxes for anything.
Right.
If I could, I would vote for a referendum that would put this in our school. And my grandkids don't even go to the public school. I would still vote for this.
The district that did go out and ask for it, they knew it was going to pass, and it was the biggest yes vote they've ever had. So they knew it was going to pass. So they knew that they wanted a $25 million swimming pool. They knew the pool wasn't going to pass. So they attached the pool to this so they could get a want and a need, because they knew the school safety would pass. I guarantee you, if any school in this state went out for referendum for this system, it would pass overwhelmingly. And the other problem is we have not defined what is school safety. There's no definition for it.
Right.
So you go from Faribault schools and you might see metal detectors and cameras, and that's their definition of school safety. Then you come up to Burnsville and they have artificial intelligence and visitor management, and that's their definition of safety.
Mm-hmm.
So when they go out for these referendums, parents need to say, please define what school safety is, because Egan did it recently, their school district, and they said school safety. Well, their school safety was like parking lot lights. So, and I mean, you can argue there's a safety measure to lighting a parking lot, but I wouldn't call that will ever stop a bullet or protect my child from an active shooter. So you have to define it. What is school safety? And that's what the bill, right now, hopefully it gets heard next week. It finally defines school safety.
Does that go in front of the House?
Yeah. There's one in the House and one in the Senate.
Who's carrying those for you?
Representative Ingen has the SHIELD Act, and then Representative Baker has another one. It's kind of a clone of that one. And then Senator Pratt is carrying the one in the Senate for funding for the installation. But we have to define it. We really do.
Yeah, absolutely have to define it. Thanks for doing this. I know you got to get going.
No, I appreciate the invite. You hit the nail on the head. We don't always agree, but that's totally fine. I think it makes for a good discussion, and as long as there's mutual respect, it's not a big deal.
I'd like to, as you're going, I would, even in those areas where we have disagreed, I walked away from doing the panel. I rage quit, honestly. I do. But I walked away, and I never lost. I always had respect for you, and I appreciate what you do and how you approached your career and how you approached your new endeavor. I would like to talk to anybody that you think would be available or willing that's trying to carry this legislation. We can get some attention on it, because I know quite a few of the GOP guys, friends with especially the Freedom Caucus people. in the House and people from the Senate. So
Yeah,
I would love to have them on. So maybe drop a bug in there and tell them, hey, I got a guy that'd like to talk to you guys. So
bring me on too. I'll have a discussion with them on live, and
absolutely.
that would be a really fun show to do.
And maybe even find somebody who's opposed to it that might be willing to come in and talk about it.
Even better.
So hit me up with some ideas and we'll make
Sure.
it happen.
All right.
And you go get to your life, and I'm gonna do all my weird things, and I promise I won't say anything that I shouldn't.
No, you're fine.
Take care,
All right, man.
Thank
See
you. Folks, I get a lot of heat from people. They're like, "Oh, you hate cops, all cops," and I'm like, "It's one that's not true. I have no hatred." There's a couple I've reserved some pretty. I'm staunchly opposed to on a personal level. I have some problems with them. I'll just flat out tell you that. My personal perspective is that I think that law enforcement, and Jason said it from his own perspective, law enforcement's heading in a bad direction. I agree. I don't know that we would arrive at the same conclusion as to what's causing law enforcement to turn in a bad direction. Many of you know that I think the biggest problem facing law enforcement today is a lack of civic mindedness in the sense of remembering who you serve and remembering that you swore an oath. And the amount of constitutional training for law enforcement is next to nil. And I think that just that alone, training law enforcement in the Constitution and talking about constitutional precedents and whatnot would make a huge difference. I think it'd scare a lot of the people who want to be involved in law enforcement out, because they would have to know things. And to that end, I'm still working on pending legislation and finding a sponsor that would require constitutional training in Minnesota for. Oh, did I freeze? That's weird. I don't know what happened. There we go. Cut back up. Got a little sketchy there for a second. We have all sorts of requirements for training for law enforcement in Minnesota. And I think a bill that would require annual constitutional training would go a long ways to fixing many of our problems. So that's one of my solutions. I do want to go back up here real quick because I didn't get a chance to say too much because I wanted to let the guest speak. Jerry, thank you once again. Thank you very much for joining the channel. I really appreciate that. You do not know how much that means to me. I want you guys to also be aware we're tuning in tomorrow night at 5:30. We're going to be doing a law enforcement use of force analysis from a case in Cass County. And I have put together the video the way it should have been laid out. But we're going to be doing a breakdown, and we're going to be doing a deep dive into the shooting of James Moeser on November 16th of 2025. And it's going to shock some of you. Some of the conclusions that I come to in the content will shock some of you. You're going to think I all of a sudden lost my mind. Yes, Central Standard Time, Jugs. But I'm also I'm going to end up shocking and aggravating both sides of the issue of this shooting from last year, which ought to be interesting to watch the blowback on that. It's a really important case, and we're dropping a philosophical bomb on Wednesday morning. TC's dropping a philosophical bomb on Wednesday morning for a politician here in Minnesota. It's epic fury level bomb. There, let's put it that way. Philosophical bomb. So be looking for early Wednesday morning. Even if you're not in Minnesota, you're gonna you're going to appreciate what we have to say about this. The other thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to let you guys know, I brought it up, but ever since the loss of my career, uh, we've been struggling here in our household. And I finally got tired of watching people put up gifts. And hey, look, you are allowed to raise money for whatever you want to raise money for. I'm all about whatever you can do to raise money. Like we're like, go for it. But what I've grown weary of is being quiet about how much the loss of my career and subsequent events since then has hit our home. Um, we're struggling, and so I've asked my audience, my fan base, and this is not pointed at channel members. Those of you that are channel members and give out every month, thank you so much. But we are asking for a little bit of help to help us get our heads above water. And so we did start a Give Send Go, and I'm going to show it here. In it, I tell a little bit of the background of what happened and why I sacrificed my career, and I did it for the sake of honor and honoring my oath. And so if you're interested, check it out. If you can share it, great. If you can give, great. But the difference is we're not asking this as a just as a charity thing. I'm offering something in return in the partnership. I'm giving. There are levels to the return on this. I have a Substack that I write for, and it's a 75 to 85% different than what I do with this platform. It is a lot of essays on society, life, abuse, a lot fiction and poetry. And so behind the paywall, you will find my memoirs. I'll be writing about my life. I'll be writing about my career and how it came to an end. I'll be telling sad stories, funny stories about my career, scary stories, if you would, kind of some terrifying moments. There's going to be a lot more fiction coming out. I write thriller type things, and I am a good writer. I'm just going to tell you, I am a good writer. And if you give, no matter how much you give, if you give $1 or you give $200, there is a level of free access to that paywall content for helping out, for partnering with me, because we need it. And we've already reached about 20% of the initial goal, and we're thankful for everybody that's given. And like I said, we're thankful for everybody that has become a channel member here, and people that give super chats and whatnot. All of that matters. It literally goes to help pay the bills. Absolutely 100% helps pay the bill. Super chats, channel memberships, keeps the electricity and the internet on. And allows us to sometimes be able to buy the grandkids presents, do things like that. So if you've ever benefited from the content or enjoyed it, but you don't like to do things through Google, channel memberships or whatnot, the Give Send Go is there for you to partner with us. And there are benefits to that. So once again, tune in tomorrow night at 5:30 Central Time, and you're gonna, boy, you will not be disappointed. You might be shocked, but you will not be disappointed. So once again, a big shout out to Jason for coming on and giving us a fair law enforcement based assessment of Trooper Ryan Moeser, and saying, look, putting words in his mouth, but it was not a good scene, and he did not drive with due care. I, for the life of me, do not understand how the Dakota County Attorney's Office could not charge him. I do hope that there was some discipline handed down to him. Like Jason's pretty sure there probably was, but I sure hope there was. I don't know how they can keep him on. I don't know how he hasn't been terminated, to be honest with you. So if you want to know more about that story, you can tune into the playlist that this is linked to, which is the Justice for Blake playlist. The Blake story is amazing, and his family are absolute warriors. I love them to death. I've been invested in a lot of stories, but nothing like I have been with these guys. They have become close friends. So Blake makes me laugh. He's got such a sense of humor. I don't know how he does it. That guy has been through hell, and yet he keeps his sense of humor, and just blows my mind how he does that. I fake a sense of humor most of the time, so I'm not really, don't find a lot of things funny anymore. Blake finds everything funny, and can laugh about anything. Picks on himself, picks on his sister. I mean, Bailey deserves it though. So she's kind of weird. I said it, Bailey. But anyway, you guys have a great rest of the day. I will see you guys tomorrow on the stream. And I'm going to have a little interesting short coming out. I don't know if it's going to be Monday, but I had a run-in with somebody that was a representative of my city today, trying to give me directions about what I can and can't do in public. And been thinking about it, and I think I'm going to put it up. It wasn't even intentional. I wasn't even trying to capture anything on video. I was doing something else, just kind of for my own fun and my own memory, and kind of a cute little thing that was happening. And this person decided they were going to tell me what I couldn't shoot video of. So yeah, the world we live in. Until next time, my friends, fight for your freedom, it is yours. Fight for your liberty, it belongs to you. And Sic Semper, Tyrannus.
We are going for liftoff in T-minus 30. Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment. Secondary guidance systems engaged. Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark. Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at